Anamorfake. Take one. Helios. In ancient Greek religion and myth, it's a word that translates to the god or personification of the sun. That's quite a reputation to live up to. Now in Soviet Russia, that very name was given to a brand of SLR lenses that would go on to become one of the most mass-produced in the entire world. Good effort. Now, because of their abundance, they're still very easy to get your hands on at affordable prices, which makes them the perfect specimen for some creative experimentation. In this case, anamorphics, or more accurately, faking anamorphics. Now I'm sure many of you are familiar with the anamorphic look and would agree that it's very attractive. That look comes at a price and a process, one that's mostly inaccessible for the majority of us, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be able to play with that look, even if it's just faking it. I won't tell if you don't. Now I don't want to get into this whole this is what anamorphic is in this video, but for context I should mention that there are 3 contributing factors that really help that look stand out from regular non-anamorphic lenses. Number 1 is oval bokeh. Number 2, a shallower depth of field across a wider frame. And number 3, those horizontal lens flares. Now, one of the main reasons these image properties exist when shooting anamorphic is because of how the image is being squeezed to fit more horizontal information from your scene. That footage is then stretched horizontally in post-production or through a projector to be viewed at its intended aspect ratio. Now, getting that authentic anamorphic look is very expensive, but it's one that can be faked to achieve similar results. It's not the same, but it's similar, and that's what I want to demonstrate today. Now, I've got 3 lenses to look at. The Helios 44M 58mm f2. Now this lens isn't modded in any way, and I'll use it as my example to compare to the other 2 modded lenses, so really I guess I only have 2 lenses to look at. The second is a rehoused Helios 44-2, and apart from the obvious physical differences between these 2 lenses, optically it's almost identical as the 44M. This lens does, however, have an anamorphic bokeh mod applied to it, so at wider apertures it will render out that oval-shaped bokeh. And number 3 is the Helios 44-3 that's been modded to give us oval bokeh, as well as amber-colored anamorphic flares made possible by a little DIY project that's fairly easy to achieve should the mood strike you. Now let's take a closer look at how these lenses perform based on the mods applied to them. And please leave your thoughts at any time. I'm really curious to know what you guys think of these. Now here is the Helios 44M f2.0 wide open. Now I've got it focused on my subject, in this case the projector lens, with some lights in the background so you can see how the bokeh will shift between the lenses. Now wide open at f2, the typical spherical bokeh is being exhibited. Now the Helios is notorious for losing almost all of its natural contrast wide open, and as we stop down, more contrast will be introduced into the shot, and you'll see the bokeh start to take that shape of the aperture blades. Now regardless of where we are, the bokeh in the background is spherical throughout the range. Now the lens flare is also typically representative of spherical lenses, no horizontal stretch. Now let's take a look at this rehoused lens. Wide open, you'll see the bokeh is more elliptical in shape. Now, of course, this is because of the oval insert in the lens that's blocking the full amount of light from hitting the sensor. It's totally a cheat, but it's an effective one. Wide open, at least. Now, if we stop down the lens, once those blades cover up the oval insert, the anamorphic bokeh cheat starts to lose its effectiveness. And at f4, the bokeh becomes spherical once again. Now this is a free mod you can apply to this iron glass rehoused lens, which I think is pretty cool, but obviously it's not going to give you that look throughout the f-stop range. Now the flaring properties of this lens mimic the 44M. Now there is a way to get anamorphic flare with your spherical lens, and it's easier than I thought. Now this is the Helios 44-3, a later version of the Helios 44-2, but optically very close, so they should behave similarly. Now this lens, however, has had some mods applied to it that you can do yourself. Now Anamorphic genius Cheeto from Anamorphic on a Budget sent me this lens and has developed a whole process to DIY this yourself. So go check him out if you're interested in this whole process, but I'll break it down a bit right here. Now wide open, this lens displays oval bokeh as well as anamorphic flares. Now the bokeh is produced by a similar technique the iron glass rehoused lenses achieve it. An oval shaped obstruction that blocks the light inside the lens. In this case, a little piece of cutout plastic that's been colored over with felt pen or maybe a Sharpie. Now if you want those anamorphic flares, then you're going to have to go fishing for them. Okay, that was bad. Please forgive me. Note to editor Mark, cut that crap out. No, I think I'm gonna leave it. Anyway, you can achieve flares by taping a little piece of fishing line like this. Now this line has been colored with a felt pen to give us warm amber flares. Now it's important the fishing line is taped vertically to get those horizontal flares. Now you can do something similar to the outer part of your lens, but this is meant to go inside the lens. And luckily, it's pretty easy on the Helios. Just unscrew the back element here, drop in your modded accessory, and screw the rear element back into place. Now the only real downside with using fishing line to create these flares is that in some cases you'll see the string outline in the shot as light is being blocked from reaching that part of the sensor. It's not always evident, but it's definitely there. Now with this lens, I found that the flares are more prominent stop down. Now because of the amber color on the inner plastic part, wide open, there's an amber hue cast on the image. Now stopping down does clean this up a bit. And this can probably be modified depending on what you do to that oval plastic insert. Now one cool technique to use with these flares is shooting against a black background. You can capture your own flare elements and use as overlays. All right, well, I'll leave it to you guys. What do you guys think of the results as shown? Do you like the Anamorfake look, or are you more traditionalist when it comes to these lenses? Now, I definitely think it's fun to play around with certain characteristics. It's absolutely no substitution for shooting actual anamorphic, but maybe one day it'll happen. Putting it out there, one day. Now, if you want to learn more about faking anamorphic, you should definitely go check out Cheeto. His Anamorphic cookbook is the way to learning more about this stuff. Super knowledgeable guy and talented to boot. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. It's Sunday, it's Sunday, it's Sunday, fun day Sunday. I like Sunday, I like Sunday. I'm gonna do a video on Sunday.